Today we got to talk about Oklahoma and Texas officially joining the SEC. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today is my birthday and I'm grown, right? So I went and bought myself a birthday present, and it is this Jonathan Moxon jersey. The patch is over here somewhere. Let's see. I don't know. It's around here somewhere. Point is, Jonathan Moxon is my second favorite character on Varsity Blues behind Wendell, because I totally believe Wendell went on to play in the NFL and have an all-pro career after taking his scholarship to Grambling. But after that, I love John Moxon, not because he the dude that stood up to Kilmer and told everybody we have the next half football to play like gods, though that's a great line. Not because his woman put him on blast after he was acting brand new at the drive-thru. Not because of the famous whipped cream bikini scene, which I think, he handled like a G, and that's the way that I like to think I would have handled that. But because his father chose to challenge him and his accuracy. And the man they said wasn't worth the Charmin Extra Soft he wipes his butt with gave his daddy a broken nose and then went on to Brown. Shout out Lance Harbor, who I'm sure won a couple national championships as head coach at Florida State after leading West Canaan to several state championships, because that's the way that go, right? That's the way people thought that it was going to go for a lot of folks, and ended up going for a lot of folks. But it's one of my favorite movies, and I'll probably watch it today because it's my birthday. It's my birthday. It's my birthday. All right. But the reason that I wanted to talk with you, and the reason we got this headline today, is Oklahoma and Texas officially joined the SEC. They accepted their invitations, and they expect to play in the SEC come July 1, 2025. Now, I think that date is movable, but I appreciate that they both outlined we want to stay in the league for that long. Now, depending on who you talk to, Oklahoma and Texas want to leave early. Big 12 wants them to leave early, but Big 12 wants to get his money, right? That's about $80 million between the two of them that the Big 12 stands to make over the next year annually. So that's about 4 times 8. $320 million. It's not a small amount of money, especially if you're the Big 12. And right now, you're very interested in keeping your league together, even with the 18s that remain in it to date. So after Chris Del Conte and his regents got up there and said, hey, we going to the SEC, I thought it was fun that Joe Harris decided to give a campaign speech at the OU Board of Regents meeting, so much so that my man Sam Kahn Jr. over at The Athletic tweeted that he was trying to get the taquito at Whataburger, and Harris was eating into his taquito time, pun intended. So that man left, went to Whataburger, got his taquito, came back, still didn't miss nothing. And the Regents still had to, officially carry the motion that they wanted to join the SEC. Harris laid out a number of reasons as to why. He claimed that money wasn't at the top of the list, but for a sitting university president in his, second year as such, for him to come out here and talk about it's so important that we play in a great intercollegiate conference shows you, for me, that it's everything's about money, man. I think the level of competition is also going to be greater, and I've said all of that. I tweeted out a photo at RJ_Young that I hope you would photo out, 2 photos actually, of Jason Momoa and the famous meme of him sneaking up on Henry Cavill because he doesn't know he's there. And I think I've said retweet if you think that Oklahoma is Jason Momoa, and like if you think the SEC is Jason Momoa, because one thing is absolutely certain: the play on the field is going to be a lot of fun for us to watch. And still, I've said everything I believe about this. Nebraska hadn't had a good time in the Big Ten. Nebraska's a power. Texas A&M at least makes money and walks around like a power, and they ain't had the best time in the SEC. So it remains to be seen what Oklahoma does with that, because I ran into a Texas fan on my flight home from LA to Tulsa, and he told me that he was named after Darrell Royal, which I got a huge kick out of. We talked for a bit, And he said at the end of all of this, he knew who I was, and he watched the channel. And he said, hey, man, I need you to scratch your ass and get glad, because I think that they don't want none from your Sooners. And that made me giggle a little bit. And this being my birthday, I also think I could finally talk about this, because I had said, let me see it play on the field. But I still want to see the play on the field. And I guess we'll get into the stages of grief here in a minute. But Oklahoma has been a part of a big something, Big 8, Big 12, basically the same conference, since 1919. Okay, that's over 100 years. The Big 12 is my childhood, is a lot of my adulthood. And I know that Southwest Conference is the same for some folks, and the Big 8 is the same for some folks. And this is what conferences do. Save the SEC, which has been around since 1932, and save the Big 10, which has been around since 1896. But like I just said, the Big 8, Big 12 in some form has been around since 1919. So even that could change. A lot is going to change. So much of being an Oklahoma fan, or at least growing up an Oklahoma fan, is in the identity that we can beat that team in the SEC, and how much glee we would take in Bob Stoops sticking it to one of those teams in the SEC. And then Bob goes on, college football on Fox, and says, this is the fit, takes out an editorial in the Oklahoma and says, this is the fit. So stages of the grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Have your pick about where I'm at with this. I'm going to talk about football. I'm going to talk about Oklahoma a ton, because that's what I do. But I also want to take a moment, reset, tell y'all all of that. Wish me a happy birthday. It's my first year on the job. I haven't actually got to talk about football on the field, building toward a playoff at all at Fox just yet. So I'm very excited about that. But I'm also excited to see how the energy is between the Big 12 schools and the Oklahoma and Texas schools, because I got to feel the animosity there. It's not going to be warm and fuzzy. It's going to be crispy, brisk, and in some places probably downright frozen. Also throw in there, Kansas State has an opportunity to get to 3-0 against Oklahoma in the Chris Kleiman era. And if things go the way that many think they go, they only get a couple more shots at this. And realistically, we're probably looking at a 2023 early exit. But Kansas State can do no worse than 500 against the best program ever in the Big 12 with Chris Kleiman as head coach. And I get a tremendous kick out of that, because Kansas State should not be beating up on Oklahoma. And yet Oklahoma, the last couple of years, found a way to lose, or Kansas State has found a way to win, depending on how you want to view all of that. I think as we get close to the season, we're only going to have more of this as a subplot. But I also hope we can talk about football. Hope we can have fun talking about football. I appreciate you being on the channel. I appreciate you going on this journey with me. And goodness me, I always thought conference realignment would hit me a little bit differently. But now we're getting into a 16-team SEC. The Pac-12, Big 12, probably even the Big 10, ACC going to make some moves. And the college football landscape is going to change drastically once more. But we're going to ride it. We're going to ride the wave. We're not going to fight it anymore. We're not going to fight the wave. We're going to ride the wave. We're going to see where we end up. Because I'm not at all. That's the one thing I am sure about. None of this is done. None of this is over. Somebody is going to want to challenge the SEC and its supremacy. This being cyclical, right? I'd said this before, and I believe this. Going into the 21st century, Virginia Tech, Miami, those were two teams that people hated. Florida State, same difference. The only team that was able to really come out in front during that time, Tennessee, Ohio State. I think this stuff is going to run around. At one point, Nebraska was a juggernaut. 2 national championships in 3 years, 95, 97. it's going to come around. Somebody is going to reveal themselves, just like USC revealed themselves in the early aughts, right? And Alabama has revealed itself for the last decade plus. But the money seems to be a driving force in a bunch of this, so we'll see what goes on there. But when they get to play, and I get to see Texas A&M, I'm going to be giddy about that. When Oklahoma gets dropped into a conference that includes either Georgia and Florida, division that includes Georgia and Florida, or LSU and Alabama, that's going to be fun. But I also think it's interesting that a divisionless SEC has been bandied about, and I think that's a way to go, because that would have you in like a 9-game conference schedule with 3 opponents that you play on the regular, though they would not be divisions. It'd be interesting for me to see who Texas and Oklahoma get, because if I'm drawing this up, the 3 teams they gotta play every single year would include Texas, Arkansas, and Alabama or an LSU, because you want a marquee game that you can guarantee for both of those schools every year from one of these 2. But I can see you just as easily wanting to make that Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, Texas for recruiting reasons. If you're Oklahoma, that's a hell of a schedule to have those 3 opponents, but it also means that you only get Texas A&M every once in a while. If it's Texas, I like Texas A&M, Texas, full stop. Gotta have it, must have it. After that, Oklahoma, right? And then maybe they get an Arkansas or an LSU or Georgia. Texas, Georgia would actually be a lot of fun. Though Alabama's probably going to be like, no, we want Texas and Texas A&M every year, because they want to guarantee that they go to Texas every year to recruit. There's a lot of moving pieces to this, and nobody is set on what a conference schedule would look like. Only that this is an opportunity that you need to seize if you're the SEC to fix your scheduling, which is really the only glaring flaw in their football, right? Is you can go years without playing teams. The one that I laid out, the pod system, the quad system, the divisions, the 4 divisions, as I like to call them, has you playing against every team in the SEC, home or away, if you're OU and Texas, inside of the first 4 years. So everybody gets a chance to interact with everybody's fans, and you visit at least half the stadiums in that time. I hope that they really give that some thought, because the only way I think we win as people who love football and get to watch football in all of this is if we get to visit all these places, right? Is if we get to go to Sanford Stadium on the regular, Bryant-Denny on the regular. We get to go into the Swamp, right? We get to go into Neyland. We get to go into Tiger Stadium and have a great time. All right. Again, wish me happy birthday. Please come with some positive energy. I'm going to try to come with the positive energy that my Texas buddy that I met on the plane had for me, smiling ear to ear, works in the movie industry, was on his way out here to work on Killers of the Flower Moon, which apparently was like shooting in Bartlesville. And I needed that because, as I said, stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Really wanted to cover Oklahoma for a very long time. And maybe that's still the thing. I will cover Oklahoma for a very long time. I mean, there's half the people that watch this channel think it belongs to Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and so forth, so on anyway. So there's that. We'll be here. We'll talk college ball. Love and respect, y'all. Love and peace to yours. See you tomorrow. Deuces.